Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Mignot, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash. Each week on our show, we bring together amazing leaders who are doing game-changing work. And this week's episode is no different. I'm super excited to have Judy Jackson, Global Head of Culture for WPP, on our show this week. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Judy.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Great. It's a lovely early Tuesday when it's now fall. What's happened to our weather? So, as you know the show, every ex-guest has the exact same question I ask. Judy, what was your first job?
My first job coming out of school was actually as a recruiter. I went to a headhunter to help me find a job in advertising. I'd done some internships in advertising, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And the headhunter said, well, while you're looking for a job, why don't you work here and help find talent? And it was a Black-owned recruiting agency called Interspace, no longer in existence anymore. But they had a lot of really impressive clients, ABC, television, New York Times, et cetera, and they were primarily doing quote-unquote minority recruiting.
Wow.
So I took the job as a recruiter, and at the meantime was given the opportunity to see what jobs came in that I might be interested in going for.
Okay, so if ever there's a direct correlation to your first job to what you do now, it would be this. So it was literally, that's how you started your career?
That's how I started my career. I was not interested in recruiting or talent. I was interested in advertising. But what's so great about that first job is that that's where I met both my husbands. They were both candidates, both. So one I married. And one became my best friend, and then I married 15 years later.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So that was a great job. Sidebar, is anyone looking?
Sidebar. Okay, go to a recruiting place, find the people, and then be like, all right, I got this.
Yeah. You get to see their GPA.
You know where they live, how much money they're making, what they're looking for. Actually, this is a good look, Judy. Thank you for that tip. I hope my listeners are paying attention to this. Just FYI. Fantastic. That's awesome. So, Judy, what do you do now?
So now I get a chance to do what I love. I get to do I get to focus on what I love. You know, sometimes you have a job where you get to do a lot of things and there's this one thing that you really love and you get to focus on, but you have this other stuff in the way. Finally, after all these years, I get to focus solely on what I love, and that's building culture, trying to create a place where people can thrive and where they can be their best selves. And that is my job description in a nutshell. So
what does that mean?
Oh, gosh. I'm still figuring out part of it. Part of it is talking to people to find out what motivates them, what drives them. Part of it is talking to CEOs and getting them to appreciate, talent in the full sense. Part of it is trying to convince an organization that although we say talent is at the forefront, to make them see why it is. And then other part of it is obviously creating programs and opportunities where we can prove that we are building a place where people can thrive. So, what I get to do is talk to CEOs, talk to employees, talk to my peers, and create, first understand what are the obstacles for people to thrive, and then finding ways in which we can move some of those obstacles.
So you're a rainmaker.
I think I am a dream creator. In other words, I'm hoping to give people an opportunity to remove whatever is preventing them from dreaming. I find that particularly for people of color, we're sometimes afraid to think about what's possible. We're living in the moment and trying to get through the day and not thinking about, if I could really make my future what I want it to be, what could it look like? Or how can I even do that with the job I have today? I'm trying to create ways in which people can be honest at work and create really meaningful conversations and not, just skim the surface. I'm trying to push for people to think beyond what's been standard or what we've been used to. So I guess I think I'm looking at myself as someone who is a carrier of truth. I want to create a place where truth can live, and where, even if it's as simple as, you know what, I'm just not into it today, I'm going to go home. I need some mental health time.
Exactly.
Or I really want to think about doing something different. Let me talk to my manager about that. Or, simply, or that, you know what, I'd really like your job one day. How do I get to do that? But creating an environment where people can have honest conversations and be themselves and get to live their dream.
Fantastic. So how do you get there from recruiting, where you found you recruited some husbands, to
successful?
Well,
the second one was successful.
Yes.
In anything that you make some flaws. You have some mistakes.
There's some bumps along the way.
That's correct. Right.
So how does that happen? Like, what's that career path look like?
You know what, I'm probably not the best person to use as an example, only because I didn't plan my career. I don't know if you did, Laura.
Hell no.
But you talk to some people who seem like they have it planned out. Like, I have a nephew who graduated from Villanova, knows that he's 28 years old, and says by 32 years old I'm going to be a CEO. And he has his relationships and his moves planned out far in advance. I sort of lived by accident.
Same.
I met people that I fell in love with, that I wanted to work with. I met people who found things in me that I didn't know existed. And I believe in the universe. I believe that if you speak it, it happens. And for me, anytime I've spoken to the universe and said, you know what, I want to do something different, it somehow or another, it just happened. And so much so that the other day my niece called me and she said, could you speak to the universe for me? Because I'm not happy in my job. It seems to work for you. So I don't know. I think if you do good and you are honest about what it is that you want for yourself and have an open heart, I don't know, maybe things just happen, but at least that's how it's happened for me. So I didn't plan it. I was just open to possibilities and sometimes maybe too trusting, but that trusting led me in the right directions.
Same. Yeah, I mean, my career, the original career for Laura was go to school, go to law school, become a partner, and then live that life. And at some point, go to Hollywood.
Well, that's still in the plan.
That's might still be in the plan. And write for TV. After I'd made loads of money, so I'd have a whole big nest egg. So I mean, that's the fun thing I did. But yeah, so if anyone had told me when I was 22 that at 35 plus, that this is what I'd be doing, I'd be like, what? Nah.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same thing. But the idea of one, speaking it out into the universe, but also just meeting people who you want to work with.
Right.
And that's the thing that's always fascinating to me. It's so how did you get into the universe of WPP?
Well, I was with WPP a long time ago at Wunderman, early in my career, and left that to go into nonprofit for a while, and then came back into the advertising arena. And then with WPP, Mark Reed became CEO of Wunderman, and I was contacted while I was at IPG, and they said, we're looking for a new head of talent to report to Mark Reed, and he's a new CEO, and we've heard about you and would like you to talk to us. And I laughed because I said, I was at that company 15 years ago. Are they still existing? But then I met Mark Reed, who's now the CEO of WPP, and it's one of those things you meet people, you immediately connect, and you want to be part of their dream. And I met him, had dinner, and at that moment, he said, I'd like you to come on board. And I said, you can't do that because, you have to talk to your CFO. You've got to, you may not know this, Mark, is a new CEO.
Yeah, but there is a process here.
Yes. But, I came back because I wanted to support him and what he wanted to build for Wunderman, and we did that. And then when he got promoted to the CEO of WPP, he asked me to come along and try to build some of that same culture we built at Wunderman to bring that into WPP. So hence, head of culture for WPP.
I mean, your role is one, incredible, because it gives you some light on the corporate level, but then also into all the agencies. But also, it's very rare to see a woman of color in your job, where it's like, oh, hey, I report to the CEO. Yeah. And where he goes, I go. Like that.
Well, I wouldn't say that when he goes, I go. At least maybe when I was at Wonderman and him coming here, but I think his world has changed. I think the whole learning, the lessons for me over the years, if I could think back, is that relationships matter. I mean, we all know that. But when I worked for Mark or any other CEO I worked for, and maybe it's part of being Black, it was never about me. It was never about how I would elevate myself. It was always about how I would elevate him, how I would get his message across, how we could build something on behalf of them. Mm-hmm. And I've never thought of myself, although I'm an extrovert, I never thought of myself as the center of attention. It was always how I could help a leader lead. And I think that humility, as well as the humility of the CEO, allowed me to move into where I am today. And I think doing what you love allowed me to move into where I am today. It's never been about the money, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I think people should ask for money, but I've never done that. It's just come with doing good work. And I know that's bad advice to give someone. Don't give someone the advice, just do good work, because that doesn't work. However, I was just lucky to work for really good people.
Well, I think it's also that, one, if you do good comes back to you in any number of ways. And yes, there's parts of it about the money, but we've taken on projects that, of course, I should have asked for 5 times the money, but I got back 5 times more in other ways. Mm-hmm. So I think, one thing I'm always saying to people is that, it's not every single thing is about the dollar sign. It's a lot of it more about the relationship, because if you can do something and someone knows that you exist and that you can deliver, down the road, that's going to pay off in ways that you didn't even expect or know. And I think that's where the value comes from. And not to look at it as every single thing has to have a check behind it. Because then, then everyone knows you're transactional. Right. And so where they could bring something to you because they think that you'd be great for it. Well, that person's always being all about their dollar. So I don't know if I want to work with that person on this particular thing. And then it could be something huge. So I would agree with you that it's you got to do what you love. And you got to work with people who, understand who you are and want to give you the opportunity to shine and do all the good work that you can do. Mm-hmm. So what would you tell 25-year-old Judy, looking back on it all now?
There's so much I would tell her. I would tell her that it's okay to be Judy. You'd have to find, obviously there are different parts of us that show up in different places, so you're not always necessarily the same. But you should be true to who you are. I've been in roles, and I'm sure most of us have been in situations where you felt not yourself, or didn't feel like you belonged, or felt you couldn't really be yourself. And it's taken me a long time to truly accept Judy for who she is. I think the other lesson I've learned, other than making sure you're okay with being yourself, is to ask for help. I think early on I felt that's weak to ask for help, that you're supposed to know everything, and no one does. So be okay with asking for help. I think the third thing that also took me a long time to learn is being a workaholic does not entail getting a reward. There's no big prize for being a workaholic, just more work.
No, there's balance.
And you're better when you're balanced. You'll have better ideas when you take time to step away and breathe. And I'm still learning that one. I'm still learning to breathe. I teach myself that a lot earlier on, that it's okay to take a break. It's okay to breathe.
Well, what's interesting? It's funny. I hear that more from people I've interviewed recently who've been in the game longer than I've heard from anybody else in the last 3 years since I've been doing this. Where it's okay to take a break.
Well, I mean, now you're on 24/7. Early on in our career, we didn't have our iPhones, and you weren't always on. You didn't always have 24/7 emails. You didn't have these global jobs that require you, and I'm sure you do. I know I do. I'm up at 4 a.m. on calls because of time zone differences. Mm-hmm. So it's a different world. It's a much more global world. It's a much more always on world. So it requires even more with that for you to take time to be yourself. Yes, and to have time alone and time to just think.
Yeah, I think that's a big hurdle. I think a lot of folks are trying to figure out how to do that balance. How do you sort of step away and like attempt to find that balance?
Two things. It's not me. I have a great husband. And my husband reminds me.
Let's go.
Yes, he pulls me away. He reminds me, honey, let's get off the phone. He will remind me that if I'm having a conversation, my phone needs to be put away and I need to focus. And I think life, my daughter's 17. We're starting to look at colleges now.
Oh, boy.
And it is oh, boy. And I'm realizing my time with her is short. So the nature of life has made me realize that I have to treasure these moments because these moments won't be repeated. So part of that is just realizing that I have to make choices because these choices won't always be there.
Yeah, it's very much like you've got to breathe. Mm-hmm. And I think, especially as Black women in business, like we put our heads down and then just like do the work, and don't look up.
Right.
And then when you look up, oh wait, I've hit a wall.
I know. Or I look up and my daughter's 17. So I think we have to force ourselves. So, for example, next week I'm taking vacation.
Fantastic.
I have no real plans. I just knew that I think it's time to take a break. And, I'm just trying to force myself. So with my husband's reminders, seeing my daughter grow up, and recognizing that there has to be a better way, and I don't want to miss these moments.
Because you can't. Because you don't get them back.
You don't get them back. You don't get them back. And it's funny, when you do take that breath away from work, you really are better when you come back. You see things from a better perspective. It's just hard because we're so ambitious and we want so much.
Well, you know what it is? Our brains are going 25,000 miles a minute. And then you want me to stop and, like, not do that and, like, put my phone away?
And it becomes addictive.
Well, yeah, what's the thing you do in the morning? You roll over, you grab your phone. Like, that's...
Oh, you're at my house,
Because, because we all do that. Like, I recently set up this bedtime thing on my iPhone.
Yes.
So, like, I don't get any notifications between 12:30 and 7.
Oh, good for you.
And so, because my calls to Europe are not going to start until, like, November 1st. So I have one more month before the European calls start again for me. But I first started, it was annoying me. And I was like, wait, there's nothing. I was like, you know what? This is actually good.
Nice.
Like, I don't hear the ding.
Do you tell people that you will not reach me between these hours?
No. I was like, you will hear from me when I get up. That's just it. Like, and we have a partner who's in London, and so she'll text me at 5 a.m, and it's like, great. I will look at this at 7:05 because I'm not. Because same deal. It's like, I realize that I've got to take a break, and being an entrepreneur and like living that in the same life whereby like you eat what you kill, and you've got to like go. But I see too many reminders of people who have burnt themselves out. Or have harmed themselves in some way, or or just you just look like hell, and you're like, is that worth it? Yeah. No.
And then unfortunately, even though I tell my team over the years, team members that don't if I email you at midnight or 1 a.m, you don't need to email me back. People don't listen to that. They still feel this obligation to be on call because you're on call. And I'm not doing the people that work with me a great service.
No, it's like, or what I would do if I'm up, I will at the very least I will schedule send so that it'll get.
But then people get like 30 emails at one time, so
you can't win. But you try and figure out ways to find some degree of balance, some degree of distance. Like I tell our clients who are doing a political campaign to like take the weekend off. Good. I was like, do nothing. I was like, because come Monday, we're going to be going crazy and hard. So I want you to take this weekend, go to the spa and chill out, get a massage. And I saw Sarah this morning and she was like, that was really helpful. I'm like, yeah, see, don't you feel better? Don't you, like, doesn't the sky look a little bluer to you this morning? And then we heard the birds chirping. Like,
nice.
The ability to, like, kind of get back with yourself, I think, is so key, especially when we're busy executives and trying to change the world and change these companies. And so it's really important to, like, have that moment to be like, yep, take me that way.
Yeah, I know when I connect with my girlfriends, which I don't do as much as I would love to, but it does change me, you know. It does change, and I'm trying to be a better friend.
It's hard.
Stay committed.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, like, oftentimes I think I'm a bad friend because I just don't have the time, and I'm like, sorry.
Try to make that time.
But you, like, try and figure out ways, and it's a constant struggle for balance. So, in your day-to-day, what's happening next now that you're in this awesome role and you've been kicking butt and taking names for about, what, a year now?
About 8 months.
8 months.
7, 8 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening next for you?
In terms of?
Your role here at Global Head of Culture. What does that mean? What are you doing?
Well, we're building communities. So one of the things we're doing, for example, tomorrow, we're bringing together for a day all of the D&I leaders across all the brands, all of the BML, Y&R, et cetera, and spending a day together planning how do we show up as one for WPP, because this is all new for WPP. We've not had a positioning as an organization around talent, around diversity and inclusion, around culture. So I'm bringing those groups together. I'm bringing CEOs together to talk about how we show up as CEOs and what collectively do we want to stand for in terms of culture. We've just created our ambition statement as an organization, which we presented to the CEOs globally across all of Mark Reed's brands, a couple of weeks ago. And we're now putting together a playbook so that the other organizations can follow through with that. Part of it is also building programming around culture. A lot of it is D&I related, around building a safe place, having open conversations. Through Jackie, she's our people leader across WPP. We're creating tools and an HRIS system globally because we don't have one global system across 130,000 people to see who they all are. Not uncommon in holding companies. So we're building one.
Wow.
So between putting processes in place and programs in place and building these communities, including ERGs, that's where we're focusing our time. So there's a lot of building that's taking place, and a lot of people were engaging in part of that process. I think one of the things I've learned in working in other holding companies is where the roles that are at the center have been sort of top down, and we're sort of bringing programs to you. Instead, I'm working to build programs together and bringing in those talent leaders, D&I leaders, CEOs, and together building something hopefully that's going to be great in a new WPP. And showing up in places that we haven't normally shown up before. So I think it's going to be exciting.
It sounds like you just lit up like a Christmas tree when you were explaining it.
It's going to be exciting. It's a new, from what WPP was, how it was positioned years ago, or even 2 years ago, it was a place where, with someone being in the brand, it was a place where there was a lot of no. And now we're looking at being at a place where there's a lot of opportunity for yes.
Oh, awesome. So that sounds super duper exciting. So question for you. What is your way to get away? So is it a place that you go for a good glass of Sauvignon Blanc? Is it your favorite spa that you go to once a quarter? How does Judy get that time away?
Yeah, it's not all that creative. It is that favorite spa. As of like next week, I will be at a spa for a couple of days, for about 3 days. It could be a spa at like Miraval, which is one of my favorite places.
Ooh.
Or it could be Canyon Ranch.
Go ahead.
It's the spa in Brooklyn for a massage on a Saturday. But I wish I had something more juicy and creative.
That is spa. Canyon Ranch, I think Miraval, kind of okay, Judy.
But I wish I had, I paint or, the other thing that I do just on a given day is every other day or so I journal. And that's my sort of quick getaway, is to just sort of journal those thoughts that are in my mind. And I've done that, I think, all of my adult life.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody wants to go through all of my, probably 200 books, they would know all about me. And
what kind of books are you writing?
It's just composition notebooks.
Really?
It would be very embarrassing.
Things to go and find in Judy's house.
And they'd probably say pretty much the same story. Wanting balance, wanting to lose weight, wanting to exercise, wanting to take time with my family. They probably all read very similar.
It's a thing that you do. It's like, so where do you see, what's the next thing you're going to be up to as in the next year or 18 months?
I don't know. I mean, other than continuing this journey, I've told WPP that this journey, it has to be accelerated, and I expect great progress in the next 2 years in terms of this culture journey. I'm hiring a new member of my team, Kai Lawson, and I'm looking at anyone I hire as a rotation. My idea is that these jobs can get stale. I fear that being in a role like this too long will not be fresh and will not be full of new ideas. So I hope in 2.5 years I would have identified my successor. And there'll be another new set of fresh ideas to build a great WPP. And what that means for me, I'm going to let the universe decide.
Fantastic. That's pretty awesome, Judy. And
it's very raw.
Yeah, it's
very honest.
You gotta do what you gotta do. But I think that's that's the kind of thing where you I want to empower people to replace me. That's what better way of building a culture that empowers than to be like, listen, I'm going to build this so that you all can take over.
I can say it's scary.
Yeah.
I have a daughter going to college.
Yeah.
And my husband has said, you're telling people what? But I believe that it's important to be free and to let people know that it is okay to move on. And I think in jobs like the one I have, you want an organization to embrace new talent and come up with new ideas to build a place where people can thrive. And at some point, my ideas will have had its course, and it's time for new ideas to arrive. And I'm open to that and want that.
Because the universe will provide always.
Always.
Well, Judy, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the show. Thank you so very much. And this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And that's our show.